proposition as a slide. Perfect. Sorry about that, guys. Let's say third time, let's be lucky. Perfect. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Mano, and thanks, Pawan. So thank you, guys. So third start, value proposition. A value proposition, as I mentioned, three things. Number one, it's a customer specific statement that needs to be quantifiable and describe both tangible and intangible value. Tangible value is nothing but something that you could prove it, which is more or less like efficiency saving, transformation benefits, etc. Whereas intangible is more or less soft related stuff. And at the same time, a value proposition should also need to give a good reason why your solution is better than the competitor's solution. Again, these list forms trigger points for you. So let's not read everything, but you can, I'm not going to read everything, but it's better for you to read it through. And when you get the slides, use it for your own reference so that you could use how what value proposition is actually going to be for. So the most important point for me here is it needs to describe your target buyer, the pain points that you can solve. That's it. If you could capture your pain point that the customer solves, normally, you get that written in a tender document, or it will be talked through in the bidder kicking off meeting, or it will be talked through in their presentation or anything that they want to do. But either way, it might be written or it might be spoken. The important thing is those pain points forms the basis for your value proposition. So from then on, there are few best practices that you can follow through how you can do it, but we'll also use some of the frameworks in value proposition to just see how we can structure the value proposition to suit your needs. There are three frameworks that are well known, and we will touch all three. Plus there is one that's from the consulting arena that's also been used, and we'll also touch the fourth element as well. So the first point is pretty important, because the value that you're going to tell your customer also comes from the branding. You will also, you would have heard the word, the strong becomes more stronger. It's evident even now when Deloitte, for example, is being given the task to do testing kits in UK for the NHS. What does Deloitte do? Consulting and accountancy. Why do they involve on NHS? It's the recognition of the brand and the relationship that they have with the buyer. Yes or no, we don't know the right answer, but it's important to have a recognizable brand. So when you position yourself, it's important to have a brand. And in this slide, you will see the brand engraved as a watermark. You see the brand engraved as a mascot. So it's brand proposition. So the important thing about, you need to sell the value based on client's benefit, but the client needs to understand your brand, your values, your ethos. In addition to the basics of, do you understand the pain points? Do you understand, is your solution better than your competitor solution? So from then on, now you understand the high level points, and now you are connecting that to your unique selling points. Your unique selling points is a mixture of what you can do, what your competitors can't do, and your understanding of your customer. So when we are doing, there was a question last time in one of the webinar where it's like, how long can we talk in sales presentation? This is where you can utilize the time when you're presenting, or when you're having clarification questions, or when you're actually standing in what we call a dialogue sessions. You need to involve the customer in developing and testing your value proposition. Not all tenders are having dialogue sessions. So that's where it's important for you to have the skills of getting the information, reconfirming the information before you're actually delving on to write the proposals is much more valuable than getting ready to actually start the proposals, taking what's been written as face value that the customer tells you. So we move on. So this is a pretty important thing with Tom Sant. If you haven't listened to Scribble Talk, we have the next episode, which is with Larry Newman, the author of Shipley Guides. And followed up, we have Tom Sant, Dr. Tom Sant. Tom Sant have written 4 books on proposals, sales, and persuasions. He's a master in the art of writing proposals and also writing, speaking solutions to clients as well. So according to him, this is how he kinds of structures his value proposition. A, differentiator. B, proof. Some of the elements are common sense. Most of the content here are common sense. That's where it gets wrong, because when Larry Newman when he published Capture Guide and Proposal Guide, it was kind of set aside as, we know all these things ourselves. What's the point writing this? And 30 years down the line, 1986, all the way now, it's still being used as a Bible because it's a book of common sense. So these slides could very well be reiterating the same points again and again. But my intention here is just not to bore you with the same points. My intention here is just to kind of keep on, like a record board, tell the same thing so that when you do write an exec summary, when you do prepare value proposition, keep the same thing. So what are the 2 points here? Differentiators, proof. What do you do that no one else does? And how do you do differently? Whereas here, your proof of variable crimes, your references, your testimonials, and any more that you could pledge for to proving that this is not the first time you have done, or even if you have done it for the very first time, why you believe this is better than what's been done in the past. So that's the value that you're creating from that. This is the diagram that we use all the time to test our solution. And now we know high level, which is the 2 points, why my solution touches the customer's pain points and also on competitors. Then the third and fourth point is about price to win. Price to win is an American terminology, and it's more or less like researching what will be the ideal price and ideal bandwidth. Again, Randy Richter, who's an authority in the US on price to win, kind of termed it like, this is not an Excel analysis. This is like predominantly going to the bottom of understanding how much salaries does your competitor spends, how much investment have they done on the other side. So it's an ethical hacking way of building up your price even before you actually build up your solution. It's very, very common on US strategic defense or defense type of deals where they are multi-billion-dollar deals. But gradually in UK, we are also using this as benchmarking to understand how the customer price, how your competitor's price point varies from your price points as well. So you understand the customer pain points, you understand how different is a competitor, then you're also adding the price to win element towards it. And with the price to win element comes with the investments, and with the investment comes with payback, and you're also adding the payback towards it. So you not only have the solution, you also have the pricing and the investment angle covered. Now you've got the high level principles. How are we going to present your value proposition? You're going to present your value proposition visually, like that one diagram that we saw, or we are going to put that in a written format in a logical way. Again, these 6 points might sound simple, but if you don't get anything out of this webinar, these 6 points are critical. Number 1, customer pain points. Number 2, why is your solution different from your competitor? Number 3, price to win. What should be the ideal price bracket? Number 4, if there is investment, how is your investment going to be paid back to the customer? Simply, what that meant is it going to be startup cost, or is it going to be part of an annual basis that you are going to pay for? It's important for the customer. Then you present it in a visual way and in a logical way. So let's look at some of the approaches. So Tony Birch, you might have known Tony Birch. Tony is the chairman of Shipley. And if you have taken APMP certifications, Tony is the brain behind it. So he structured the APMP Foundation practitioner, pretty much influential on BOK, the body of knowledge that you go for, and the recent capture practitioner as well. So Tony's approach, which was taken out as APMP's approach, is smart. You might have heard this word time and time again. Again, it's common sense. But what it says is a template. As I mentioned, the slides will be sent to you, so you don't need to write it down. This is how you can summarize a value proposition. Client name can improve by what as a result of doing what differently over what for an investment. This used to be a very popular APMP Foundation question as well. So what that meant is, an example, Acme can improve customer satisfaction by 20% as a result of automating service desk function over 6 months for an investment of 2 million. So they covered all the 6 points that we touched it in single line or maybe in a couple of lines. So from your company, in your solution, can you write it this way? Tangible benefit, 20%. By what? Automated service desk. How long? 6 months for an investment of 2 million, the payback period. So that's one way. The next way is Larry Newman, the author of Shipley Guides. He goes on with a couple of options, or 3 options actually. Prospect will realize quantified business improvement by purchasing our solution for total investment cost. Big Co will realize 5% productivity improvement by purchasing our consultancy solution for $5 million. So starting with the client's name, the benefit that you're going to get for what investment, beginning the starting date of when you're going to do the project, the improvement of what you're going to do for will achieve a payback again for the customer. We have agreed to document the delivered value by X and this approach. So what it meant is these are forms of value propositions. So next one, Dr. Tom Sant. Again, Tom looks at it in 3 different angles. So state the value of the benefit, identify the differentiator, provide the proof. You already saw his diagram, and this is some of the examples that he has put forward as well. So all the value proposition concepts or frameworks just say one thing, which is like you have to be in a position to sell your solution in the most concise format available. So that's it. Can you summarize those things? So Jeffrey A. Moore is again an American author, consultant, speaker, well-known speaker. He came out with this, which is more or less consultancy driven, but it still makes sense because we use it all the time. For target customers, for mobile business people who are dissatisfied with, this straightaway talks about the pain point. Our product, which is X, is a new product that provides X capability. Unlike your competitor, our product provides this. So explicitly, he recommends you to challenge the customer to do this for mobile business people who are dissatisfied with heavy laptops with a limited battery life. Our MobiJob is a solar template tablet that provides 24 hours X, unlike regular tablet devices XYZ. So in proposal terms, I know most of you are qualified already or refreshing by joining this webinar. Ghosting. But ghosting helps. You can do direct ghosting, or you can name it and you can ghost it. Without naming it, you can still kind of give a view of who are your competitors and say why your solution is better than the others. So 4 different methods of put forwarding your value proposition. So again, Tom continues in giving his 3 pointers, which means like, the impact that you're going to create for the customer, the pain points, needs to cover 3 different angles for them. When he means by 3 different angles, this becomes again a little checklist. So when you have written your value proposition, quickly check what are the impact that I'm creating here. Am I creating an internal impact for the company? Is it a tangible impact? Or is it an intangible impact? Or we are helping them with what process are we using, which is tactical, technical, and strategically, what are we going to do? What that meant is you can literally copy paste. You have 5 different elements already there. So if you can decide for your company to write 5 value propositions, it's already there, the impact. What am I going to do to increase the revenue for the customer? What am I going to do to improve their market share? What am I going to do to improve their profits? What am I going to do to downsize? How am I going to do it? So there are at least 10 examples just in the few slides that we saw, and you could pretty much lift and drop inside your value proposition thing, and you can see fill the blanks with what your software or what your service provider use it for your own tender. So a quick checklist for value proposition without kind of listing everything. The target customer. Why should they buy you? What does your product do? What does it feel like to use it? Because it's important. As I mentioned, the brand value is important. The next one is the features. Even though we say features, benefits, people do need to understand some elements of your features. What are the rational and emotional drivers? We can go long and long. Again, this will be a good checklist. Normally, with the new technology, with the proposal automation tools and stuff, the number of proposals that we have done over the years has increased dramatically. Last week, we had a training program with one of the largest multinational IT services providers. They churn close to 2,300 proposals a year. So that's like 200 proposals a month at a different level. So you might be wondering, do they have time to do this sort of test, or are they simply churning our proposals, right? At least on the strategic proposals that you do, which could be your top 10 must-win tenders, use the checklist to at least test whatever you are writing. Is it on the right way? Does it follow some of the content that you need to capture? And does it follow the pain buttons, etc.? That's the whole purpose of these webinars. So finally, the tips for effective value proposition. Again, we touched the 6 core elements. Here, keep it short and simple. Know your audience, be clear, avoid the jargon. And the word smart, for example, is a jargon, but it's been used all the time. So, and I cannot pronounce smart myself, but it is what it is. It's been used in your industry. Avoid jargon. It should be considered as again, a value proposition is a conversation starter, because these are not exec summary, which we'll touch, but these are key statements that forms part of the title of your exec summary. Every single slide, or if you watch the sales presentation, every single slide, or if you're doing an exec summary, 6 to 8 pages or 4 to 6 pages, these value propositions becomes your highlighted part that you kind of put forward inside the proposal, either as a top, as a headline, or as an important marker inside your exec summary. So these becomes your key. The 6 points you need to remember in our tender. Those are these. Boom. That's it. Tell a story. It's in our world, especially the APMP, Tony Birch's stuff. It's important to have a story for your proposal. Even coining a word, you might have seen in the sales presentation, I used a word called the rising of the in-house big team. So that tells a story. It's a training contract. To win a training contract, rather than to try, here we go, you'll be happy to train 30 of your company, you just use a story. Reimagining your solution, reimagining your something. Reimagining is a great word. By working with us, we just want to reimagine with you. So your tagline, even for a proposal, needs to be strong enough so that people get it. Okay, the whole purpose of working with these guys is they're going to reimagine this work. They are going to upskill our team. Fine. How are they going to do it? Ding, ding, ding in the slide. So that's value proposition. So we already have seen 1 or 2 lines here. If you look at the tech, this is it. Slack, all your tools in one place. QuickBooks, send invoices in minutes, get paid 2 days faster. If you look at Scribble, we democratize bidding knowledge. Bingo. That's what we do. We democratize. We have free low-cost programs for bid and proposal professionals. That's what we do. 1 line, sorted. So that's it. Summary, just a quick recap. Failure to sell on value will result in customer choosing on price and doing nothing. Again, this is a statement that we all know, but valid to be reconfirmed again with you. Overcome obstacles to use the value proposition to increase your chances of winning. So again, your value proposition is a way of breaking the obstacle with the customer. If you've attended some of the sales objection stuff, this is the best way to object it using your value proposition. Next, value proposition offers clients something they want and gives them a good reason to choose your organization rather than your competitors. Again, these are valid statements, but these becomes a proper checklist. That's why I didn't delete anything, and I'm just giving every single line again and again. It could be repetitive, but please do take it. And even if 1 point that you could improve, you cannot do all the 30 odd points that's been mentioned here. But even if in a tender, pick up the 5 or 6 key stuff that you could implement and keep on adding those stuff in your thing as a checklist. The value proposition again forms the foundation of the exec summary. That's what we will be doing next. And we are moving on. Again, these are the same things again and again. Quantify the payback using measure of time, rate, or value. We touched the 4 different frameworks, and those are the 4 different frameworks which I want you to do it. And if you want, use this as an exercise to just see how many value proposition can you create by using those 4 examples, which is APMP one, which Tony Birch's APMP one, Larry Newman Shipley one, then we Dr. Tom Sands one, and then William Moore's one. How many value proposition can you create for your company? Because your solution that you might be applying for tenders might very well be the same across different industries. If so, having the 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 solid value propositions might be of great benefit to you. All we need to do is just tend to reflect the pain points for the customer, and to have the customer and to have the competitor who's just going to go for. Again, in your sectors, you might be facing the same competitors again and again. Having this worked out might be very solid for you. So yeah, focus on the right kind of impact, which may not necessarily be financial, because these days, as you can clearly see, we will be launching a campaign in May called FM Heroes, Facilities Management Heroes. That's not financial, it's emotional. And the impact that we want to create is just to create an award scheme for not just bigger, or not just the CEOs and the frontline, but create awards for the frontline people who have given their life just because they went in to do their jobs for NHS. So we'll be launching the campaign there. So that's the value proposition. So high level, 6 points: understand the customer pain points. Number 2, know your competitor and see how you're better than them. The right price, the impact, the investment. 5, how you're going to visually present it. 6, your logical order. 4 different formats there, we talked about it. And then from then on, you're just reiterating the other benefits of using the value proposition. The most important being it forms the basis for your exec summary. All right, so let's move on with executive summary. So so take a step back and read through with me. So primarily, there is the exec summary. There are tons and tons of exec summary presentation. There is one even last week by Colin from CSK, a brilliant one. If you haven't listened to it, I suggest you listen to it. It's an APMP webinar by Colin from Germany. It's a very solid presentation, so please do have it. But what I have here is, again, it's a lot of checklist. Try to cover what you need to remember for an exec summary. So executive summary varies from industry to industry, and executive summary varies from company to company as well. So the length, I normally insist 4 pages if it's a smaller deal, or maximum 6 pages if it's slightly longer deal, so that you could cover some of the major points. But either way, this is not just a summary. You're not writing a paragraph or a page. It needs to cover good information about your proposal. So this is a definition which I found. I'm not going to read this myself, but if somebody does ask you what is an executive summary, here we go. This is it. It's a concise, informational, persuasive piece of writing with the principal purpose of convincing the customer that your offer is superior to your competitor offers. If you can get this, I'll be happy. So that's it. That's the executive summary. Again, you will see the same messages coming along. So do you need to add an executive summary part of a proposal, or is it standalone? No customer will actually ask you for an executive summary. You just need to do it yourself. It helps you to reaffirm, the bigger solution or the tender questions, the hundreds of questions that you're writing actually has a concise format. This is the tender, and this is who we are, and this is what we're doing for this tender. If it's not even helping your customer, at least it will help your board to just say, okay, this is the tender that we are applying for. But it's a standalone document. And B2B in the private sector, it works wonders. But in public sectors, with the recent kind of structured around online portals and stuff, there might be some restrictions in uploading documents that are beyond the remit of what you can do, but there will always be a part underneath that says any other information or something. That's where you could upload this as well. But with the word count and other restriction, it's not friendly, but it works wonders. Executive summary works wonders. Find every single reason to add it part of your proposal, even if there is restriction. So as it clearly says, the main purpose of exec summary is to sell you a solution to the client's problem. Let's step back and let's go through one slide at a time. It must be clear, persuasive, outlining why the client should choose your company. It should be specific and focus on results, and it should help the evaluators understand the key messages in your proposal. The key messages is what we already went through for the first 30 minutes of this talk, the value proposition, the 8 to 10 statements, key. And those are the 6, if it's 6 statements, 4 pages, those are the things that needs to be spot on in your executive summary. So does an executive summary improve the probability of winning? It's a question mark, but what happens is it does help people's understanding much better than reading the 100 pages or 200 pages of your tender document. So on that perspective, the customer get it, your buyer, you have the CEO in your buyer or a procurement director or the HR director or something, they might not have the time to read every single section. If they do get it, and if you can connect to it with the brand, with your values, with your solution, then it does improve probability of winning. So why do you need an executive summary? Again, it's a straight away thing. The vision is a very sensitive topic, especially now when the post-COVID new normal environment. The why of the company is going to be pretty challenging, because what every company was doing in the past will be slightly different or drastically different to what they'll be doing in the new COVID new normal environment. So what that meant is understanding customers' vision versus your vision meant like how flexible you are, how agile you are in positioning your tenders going forward is going to be pretty critical. So that word, the only thing that won't change in any customer, it could be competitor or customer or with you as a company, is the vision. So we changed our vision to restart and recreate. So that's our new vision, restart and recreate, which follows through from our values, which is build confidence, seek purpose, and make an impact. So while we are doing that, we do need to restart, and that's what we are doing. But you would note that the why part of your customer will be gradually changed in the next coming months to fit themselves into the wider post-COVID environment, and having that understanding solidly helps in you securing the deal. So highlights, explicit and implicit needs. I'm not going to dwell deep on that. This is where working alongside salespeople, working alongside solution people, working alongside your own company stakeholders will be of critical importance. That's the whole remit of why we are doing this full stack bidder thing, because having that understanding of, I'm not here to churn proposals, I'm here to understand, I'm a person who are a bridge to connect the implicit and explicit needs of my company to my client's company, and having an understanding of both is going to help you to put forward an exec summary. So that's what it's key here, but how important it's for you to understand the customer's needs, stepping back, getting an understanding, not just from your salespeople, but directly from the customer's mouth itself. It's going to be a massive skill. So we can move on. It showcases your solution to customer needs, and it also gives a chance to present how much value you are offering in comparison with your competitors. Again, I am reiterating again, it could be boring, guys, but it is what it is. So there's 6 or 7 key questions. We will touch the 4-box template, but if the important thing, what are you addressing in this exec summary? Number 1, what are the customer's problems? If you cannot list 5 customers' problem, then there's no point writing the exec summary. You need to have at least 5 customers' problem, and you should be in a position to document from where you got those problems from. Is it written in the tender document? Is it what they said in the dialogue sessions? Is it what they said in the while passing? Is it what they said in the webinar? You would need to have those customers' problem written and marked when, by, who, because it's very, very, very important. This is the first thing from my experience, because I sit on the Brexit procurement forum. So you can clearly see how that works, understanding customers' problem, at least listing them, is the first thing that they look for. Do you understand my problem? Okay, list it. What do you know about my company? Is a pretty typical interview question. List it. So that's what, how much do you know? 5 problems, or write 5 problems. So why did the problem arise? Again, if they haven't written it, this is the very valid first question you might need to ask them. You have mentioned these are the questions, or these are the problems. Why did they arise? It's a good follow-up question. If they haven't done in the clarification stage or in the dialogue stages, it's a very important one to confirm whether it's an emotional element or whether it's really a tangible one that they're looking for. So moving on. So what results do they want to achieve by solving the problem? So the outcome of your tender. Post this tender, they want to do X, they want to rationalize their property, they want to have a digital transformation, or they wanted to move into a new way of working, or they are simply wanting 30% cost efficiency. What is it that they are trying to achieve by outsourcing this tender? and which outcome or result is the most important. These forms the basis of questions for exec summary. Again, in my case, I have a cheat sheet, which I'll forward it to you after this. I have this in front with me when I'm talking to a customer. I take it with me and I ask these questions with them directly. So, moving on, what solutions can you or your competitors offer? And from the on, what results will each solution produce? Which is the best solution and why? And few bits and pieces. So what that meant is, you know the customer's problem and you know why there is a problem, and you also know what outcome they want to get from this tender. And now you know some of the solution that might benefit from your side, and you also know what your competitors can do, and you are going to pick up what we call the compliant and the best possible solution for your customer. Is it going to stop you from presenting the other two options? It's not, but in good old times, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you could, where there is not much restriction with the words, you could easily come out with a compliant solution and two variant solution for your tenders. So guys, this is what you asked for us, and understanding your problem meant, I think you are missing the plot there. In variant 1, we are giving you, we can do 10 times more what you ask us to do. It will be slightly more expensive, but will cover all the problems that you haven't even pursued. Variant 2, slightly off, but it's covering for the next 10 years. So variant 1, variant 2, and your compliant bid. So having those options in the new world, which is the past 5 years of automated procurement process, those are watered down. But does it mean that you don't want to use options? If you find a place where it's possible, pick up the best possible solution, and you just go with the best possible solution. Sometimes the customer will tell them, I understand, you can do bigger and better things, but this is the one thing that I want you to go for, let's add it. But that shouldn't stop you from adding 2 or 3 pointers in the same tender that says, having said that, we can also do X, Y, Z on top of that as well. So very quickly, what are the 4 things that we're going to do part of the exec summary? 1, the need, we get it. These are 4 important slides in this whole thing. Number 1, part of the exec summary, you are just giving the assurance, we get it. Number 2, we have got it, the solution. Number 3, evidence, we can do it. And number 4, let's do it. So it's all about working together collaboratively, but these are the 4 different blocks. Let me reiterate from the beginning. Number 1, we get it, you get the need. Where have you given the need? Number 2, the solution, we have got it. This solution focuses on your needs. This is how it does. Number 3, the evidence, we can do it. We have done it in the past, or we have invested heavily on this. We can do it for you. And that's where the point about talking to your company, your team, or your product. And this is where the signature or some assurance that if you don't have reference directly by having a signature or something from your company head will definitely help. And the call to action, let's do it. Make the client feel that you are the right choice. Talk about why you want to work with them and why it's important for them to work with you. So that's it. So the 8 steps to build an effective executive summary. Again, most of the points that I'm going to tell you again might be like, oh, I know this already, but as I mentioned, just take it through one step at a time, so it'll be useful for you. Number 1, exec summary is non-negotiable. What do I mean by that? So it's a way that you are going to summarize what you have done for your overall tender, and you're going to connect your solution to a customer's vision. So this is not where you are actually, this is not a contract where you're going to negotiate, or this is not a tender, it's negotiable. So this predominantly is pretty much an exec summary. Your exec summary is not even scored. That's predominantly non-negotiable, but it's important to have it with you. An exec summary is customer focused. We already touched it. And your exec summary needs to be aligned to your sales strategy. That's why it's important to have a predefined value proposition for your company. Means that when a new tender comes up, you could easily align to your sales strategy. It's not like you're lifting and dropping, because you know the key value proposition, and you can just have the competition, you can just have the customer's pain point, and you can go for it in a much important way. So the 4-box template. The 4-box template, this is a well-known APMP methodology. If you've taken the foundation exam in APMP, you would definitely get this as a question. The 4-box template. It's what it does is, there are different ways of structuring executive summary. This is one way, and there are many more ways of doing it. And we have our own template, which we will attach it part of this talk. 4-box template predominantly has 4 boxes, as it says. Number 1 is a summary box. This is where you write everything, what you know about the customer. You're going to say, we know your vision, we know your goals, and you also started to kind of align, hey, you know what? We know your goals, and we have a high-level solution. You will add one of your value proposition here that's spot on, that summarizes everything what you can do here. Bingo. So it's an introductory kind of summary type of thing. Then you go on and add a little bit more, which is, again, it's part of the introduction thing, where you're going to add, okay, now I know you have 6 pain points. That's it, listed off. And these are the pain points here. And by talking to you in the order of priority or in the order of impact, these are the 5 critical elements that we believe that's causing problems to you, or these are the customer needs. So what we call them as hot buttons. You will easily find hot buttons in the tender document, but if you are having the conversation with the customer, they would also tell you why this became a hot button, the story behind it. It's important to have that as well. The next part is actually the body. So you kind of list the 5 hot buttons, and you also start to explain for each of those hot buttons what your value proposition is going to be. So 5 issues, 5 value proposition. Then you are going to review them, and you are going to compare, as you would have done with the different formats that we just now touched. You are going to highlight the difference of why your solution is better than your competitor solution, and you're going to add the visuals, and you're going to add the price, and you're going to add the team, and you're going to add lists and races, and you're going to cover off the overall thing. So copyright Shipley. So this is the 4-box template. It has the summary, the theme. Again, this is where you put your story, reimagining sales, the rise of the X team, So this is where you need to be creative on what does it actually cover. This proposal titled X is for you to solve this by X time. All these things comes up there. Introduce hot buttons, 6 or 7 hot buttons there, and you are listing those hot buttons, and you are going to write individual hot buttons with all the stuff that we just talked about. What that meant is, even if you give one hot button kind of, like a little like 10% of your overall page, and if you have 6 hot buttons, and if you put 3 hot buttons a page, you are looking at easily 4 pages. The first page for introductory summary, and again 2 pages for that, and then the back page is more or less to cover about your company and stuff. But if you want to go slightly more, where you can add a timeline, you could add the team, and you could add the return of investment, and you can also add a lot more inside it. That makes it 6 pages. So predominantly this is how we do it. So the 4-box template can be expanded into a single page, into a multi-page draft, depending on how important it is to the customer. So I just want you to take a step back and think, in your company, how do you approach executive summary? Do you do exec summary? Or if you don't, exec summary is not a brochure. First of all, exec summary is definitely not a brochure. It's customized to solve the pain points of need. And if you do have a brochure, please, I'm pleading you, don't attach to your brochure to any tender. You straight away lost them. It will be much easier not to attach your brochure to the customer than actually attaching. You're actually not helping yourself there. Unless you can customize your brochure to solve the needs of your customer, don't do it. It definitely helps. So always formulate your exec summary using proven methods, as I mentioned. Whatever I am talking to you is, I haven't created it, I haven't invented it, and I don't think anybody has actually done anything bigger in the past 15, 20 years from the time proposal started. It's all the same thing being grinded in different formats. and grind it in different ways, but the principles of how proposals are written in the past will always be the same. So use the proven methods that you believe that works. That's where the likes of APMP, and that's where the likes of Shipley and others comes to picture. Strategic proposals, and to a certain extent us, to kind of have a proven methods and use a proven method in your exec summary, so that you don't need to second guess what you're going to do. The writing guidelines, again, there are lots of interesting books. There is an episode from Samantha and Slen from Dragonfly editorial in Scribble Talk. If you listen to that, you will see I was shocked, because writing is a skill in itself. Editing is another skill, but having this concept of working in editorials, magazines and stuff, and applying those principles and proposals was actually very interesting way of looking. If you haven't listened to, I suggest you listen to that, because it gives you most of grammar, all the interesting things of Oxford way of approaching here. And I'm not great in those things, but if you want to take it to the next level, Grammar Girl podcast is unbelievable. Please do and take it from there. So again, follow sound and accepted writing guidelines. What are the points here? Proof of claims, clear statements, customer-focused frameworks, visuals, standalone summaries, brief and comprehensive structures, bits and pieces. So always follow accepted abbreviated practice when preparing the exec summary on short notice. So having a template for exec summary does help. As I mentioned, if you have 6 to 8 value propositions already there, and if these are the type of customers that you'll always do, especially if you are a software as a service, or if you're a IT/IS, small value training contracts here, and if you're always going to put forward tenders around the same thing, having a template does help. So what that meant is, exactly your value propositions, the customer's pain points, customer pain point, 3 or 4 things, mix it up, and you can do it in the shortest notice, which means your exec summary could very well be the starting point of your overall proposal solution. But the need for exec summary, from my own personal experiences, sometimes we get into too much details inside the tender, and it's quite hard for a buyer to actually understand or to evaluate, what these guys have done, how this is going to help. An exec summary, which is an easy reading document, will always help people to just say, okay, a quick flip through and say, okay, this sounds interesting. Let me read the tender. You'll be shocked how many people do that. So having some sort of kind of time dedicated to exec summary will work wonders for you. As I mentioned, in good old times, 2000, 2005, 1995, exec summary was brilliant. We had the luxury to print it, close it up, send it. 2010, slowly 2015 onwards, we don't have, because we are very busy in automated lifestyle, churning as many proposals as possible. So, do your best to create an exec summary. And if you do need to create something in a short notice, start to do some groundwork and create them on the shortest possible time. The quick do's and don'ts, again, reiterating again, focus on the client, proofread as much as possible. You will clearly see some typos here as well. That's perfectly fine. But when you're giving to the client, don't do that, because people like Samantha and Slen, who dedicated their life into editorial, for them this is not simple. All you wanted is, thank God our buyers are not kind of experts in grammars and other things, so I normally escape. But you don't want them, because Samantha gave me 42 corrections just on my Scribble Talk podcast page. So that's like one website page. She found 42 grammar errors. So it's very important, because for some people, they believe that, if you can't even write properly without grammar errors, why would I read you? It doesn't happen normally, because our buyers are in that grammar thing, but you never know. And also it's important for you, because you are a proposal writer, to just have that sort of standard in ensuring that you are doing what you're doing. Again, mention your client's name or a client's company name, and try to use plain language. Try to avoid big jargons and other things. And the don'ts, please don't make it longer than 6 pages. 6 is a stretch. provided you could put some visuals, provided you could put some timelines of how you're going to mobilize the contract and what sort of savings you're going to do year 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5, and what sort of impact you want to create. If you can put at least one visual page, and if you can talk about your team and the assurance testimonials, 6 pages, but unnecessarily don't waste it, because recent research has said the quality of proposals has come down. This is from SMA, which is the world's largest capture stroke business development consultancy. They did a research and they found over the past 15 years, according to them, having worked with 140 buyers, the quality of proposals, the way they actually reach the customer's pain points actually has come down, because the proposal writers or the providers tend to rely too much on visuals to pass the message, rather than clearly documenting what the customer pain points are actually there for. So it's there, and it is, again, as you can clearly see, it's a sample. I need to do an example, but I haven't. What I can show you on the other side is my own exec summary template. So bear with me for just a minute, and apologize, we are running 2-3 minutes longer. So yeah, so if you can see our 1-page exec summary, this is a template that we use. If I'm sure you can see. So I'll forward this anyway. This is the company info, which is the buyer info. This is our 2-minute elevator pitch, which we always have. Then what's the problem we are solving, and what's the solution that goes with that? Who are we actually writing it for, which is going to be like, you know, the CEO, the sales director, anybody who's going to do it. And comparative analysis, a high-level principles of we don't know who are the 2-3 people, what is it they're going to do there. The launch budget, because most of our projects are consultancy stroke training stroke software kind of projects. So the launch budgets, the revenue forecast predominantly for them, okay, working together with you, this is how it's going to go for. The financials and funding, the pricing outlook. I think these are, as I mentioned, the pricing investment part. If you do require a customer to just say, you know what, we want you to spend some money with us, and this is the kind of revenue gain share that you want to get out of it, etc. All these are important, but in our case, these are important for us. Go-to-market strategy, support plan, leadership team, and partners. What that meant is this is a little bottleneck. Just a bottleneck, what am I talking? This is a little checkpoint for me. So very quickly, okay, this is a tender. So who is going to do it from my team? XYZ. Do I need a partner? These are the partners. What sort of support do I need? What will be my go-to-market strategy? Okay. So I'm not, this is the first thing I do for any tender. This just become a starting point, and I started to write, okay, how much will be my bid cost? Who's going to be involved on that? And if you do on this tender, what are the other things that might be impacted? It's not fully related to this particular tender. It just helps me to put my thoughts together in one template. And from then on, I normally print it and write it. And from then on, I just convert it into actual templates, getting the, you know, the 6 or 7 different themes, value propositions, and I take it from there. Again, part of this talk, part of this workshop, you'll also have a handling to that. So all I want to do in these workshops, as I mentioned, is, you know, please do refresh what you have done. And please to see whether there is at least 1 or 2 improvements that you could do part of this overall thing. The slides will be checklist driven. The slides will be keep on telling you, did you consider this? Did you consider that? Don't do this, do this, use this for your own reference. That's the whole purpose. And then I'll close it there. And we have the next one, which will be the capture planning, which will be starting on Thursday, 3 p.m. where I'll be focusing on capture related stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know. I will see the questions over there.